All right, and we're live. Mary, do you want to give our disclaimer?
Oh, yes. You're watching the raw video feed for our podcast, Sunday Morning Linux Review. If you want to view the final version, you actually won't be able to view the final version, but you can listen to
Right.
it by going
And
to our website.
this version is expletives included.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, as we'll find out in a little bit.
Right. All right. Looks like our audio only stream is not going to be working today.
Wasn't working last time either, was it?
We didn't run it when we were at PenguinCon.
Yeah, but I meant the last time we were here.
Oh,
Yeah, it
a month
worked last
ago.
time.
Did it?
Yeah. We run our audio stream off of a friend's Raspberry Pi, and he must have it turned off right now. It's K Wisher.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he forgot that you're still doing that.
Indiana?
No, he knows.
Maybe it died.
I host their website too.
Okay.
Their
Every time
I-
every
I know
time
where
his
you're
thing
going.
goes down, take their site down.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going with that. That just popped right into my mind too. Oh,
Actually, I
That's
know
pretty
him
funny.
online. I just helped him deploy the WDS server. He had some questions about
Oh,
how to
yeah?
set it up. So
Yeah, he works for a school in Indianapolis or somewhere, Indiana somewhere.
I told him I might help him get some images. I walked him through how to create them and things like that. But we already have them. I just got to figure out how to export them out of the system. That's one of the features it doesn't have a real good is export import of the images.
Oh yeah.
How do you do it then? Do you actually create it in the system?
We actually create the images on a server and it uploads them. So you take any computer. We use virtual machines for it. We build the images on virtual machine and then we push them up to the server and then we can redeploy them wherever.
And it's not the same process of pushing up except in reverse?
Well, he wants like just a file sent to him, like through a torrent or whatever, so I can just send him the file. But once it's into the database, it doesn't have an easy way to.
It's not like an ISO file or
Right.
something?
All right, why don't we save that for our interview part?
Oh yes.
All right.
All right.
I translated this when I first got that tweet from that guy.
yeah.
I thought it was going to be something interesting, but no. Frühstück in German is breakfast.
What'd he say?
He's saying breakfast. I need breakfast. Breakfast.
Twitter.
was that directed to you or
No, just a tweet to the world.
All right. Is that the German way of
He's an American, but he lives in Germany and has for years.
Oh. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
all right. Are you ready?
No.
All right, so Tom, one thing is the soundboard
Oh yeah.
We
pipes
can't hear
in,
it.
but we can't hear it.
So you got to watch Tony.
We have to
for
wait
hand signals.
his cues. Yeah.
Yeah, so I put my finger up saying
Got
it's playing, so don't talk during that, and then when my hand goes down, then you can start
Got
talking. All right, and we're ready to go.
The Sunday Morning Linux Review, starring Mary Talmadge, Tony Bemis, and Matt Enders as the beaver.
And this is Tony Bemis,
Matt Enders.
And Mary Tomich.
and this is episode 151, and we have a guest with us today.
Tom Lawrence.
That's right.
Hey, Tom.
Of.
From LawrenceSystems.com.
All right.
There we go.
Yep. And if you listen to the Podnuts shows, you've been on a couple of those, right?
Correct.
All right. Very cool. So we've known each other for like a year or so on Facebook,
Yeah.
but we only met last at Facebook.
BeamonCon, I think.
Or yeah.
At Facebook.
Yeah. And what's our episode name?
Oh, I don't know. We didn't even talk about it. That's
Yeah.
what episode
We
name.
did not discuss the episode name.
We'll come up with it during the show. We'll pick the sound.
Yeah.
I think Mary's probably got something in mind.
Well, no, I just put a guest and then an exclamation point.
Yeah, no.
That's the last resort one in case we don't come up with anything
Okay.
better. You know how that goes.
So we've changed our live recording today because tomorrow's Mother's Day, and I kind of messed up Mary's plans. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I
Shit.
was at a port tasting party and port wine.
Hey,
That sounds good.
Yeah,
unless
it
you
was
brought some
delicious.
for us, Mary. I don't want to hear
I
about
didn't. I drank it.
it.
And then I had to get up early, so I had to leave.
I'm sorry, Mary.
That's all right.
That's
all right.
my fault, but
I know. I'm keeping track.
yeah.
Another check mark.
Another check mark. But he's got a long way to go to catch up with you, Matt.
Yeah, well, I live
kidding.
for those check marks.
Anyway, so
So
yeah.
what else is new with you, Mary?
Well, I sprained my foot,
Mm.
and I'm supposed to have a walking boot on, but I just,
That's a bad sprain.
which means I don't drive. Yeah. So I have it on my. It was my right foot. I'm not going to go into details about how it happened, but it had to do with stairs and something on the step and me not seeing it and my foot.
It wasn't that wacky step on. that you got.
No, on my no. Matt was over
I
to my
almost
house.
fell twice going down these.
You know, man, I think I'm going to put
Is that
some.
the one by the bathroom?
No,
No,
it's
this
up
is
to the third. You've never
upstairs.
been on these stairs.
Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah,
Up going up to the third floor.
there's like a landing.
It
but
turns halfway up, but instead of it being a landing where it turns, it
There's a
doesn't.
half-
There's a half step and
There's a
a half
diagonal.
step.
There's a
Oh.
diagonal step. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of a half diagonal step.
And yeah, I almost
So-
came crashing down. And Mary was leading the way, so I'd have bashed into her, and both of us would have wound up in a
Oh,
heap.
you would
at
have
the
bashed.
bottom.
Bashed.
Oh,
I get it. I
geez.
get it. Anyway, yeah. So that was it. But another thing I did too is, last weekend I was up in Minnesota, and a friend of mine's computer. She and I had communicated a bit last year about what to do with this computer because it was running Windows XP. Yeah, yada yada yada. Anyway, so when I was up there, I ended up putting Tarpup, one of the Puppy Linux.
What were
distros.
the resources available on this?
512.
Only 512.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
for XP, that's way underpowered.
Yeah. It was it's an HP. One of the HP laptops.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So it had 60 gig hard drive. Yeah. So it
Was
was.
this like running XP1 or something?
No. No. But it really kind of limited what I could do as far as what distros to put on it. So I spent a little bit of last Saturday getting that set up for her. So I'm hoping that works out. I told her if she doesn't like it, ship me the laptop. I'll put something else on it.
Well, if you
'Cause I
put
didn't
more
have the-
RAM in it.
Well, yeah, no, that's another thing too, because we could probably do that. I didn't really think about putting more RAM in it.
I mean, the processor's probably going to be a big dog, but
Yeah, but if you got more RAM, that sometimes masks problems.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a big difference.
So, but anyway, so yeah, so that's one thing I did. I also upgraded my netbook to Kubuntu 15.04. Now that's somewhat of an underpowered machine. That little, I don't know if you've seen that Asus netbook I have.
Yes.
And when you're running a full distro like that on a netbook that's got 2 gigs of RAM,
I don't know. Up until it was stolen from my van, I ran a full distro on that one I bought
that little
from you.
baby
Yeah.
EPC.
Yeah.
Huh.
Mm.
Yeah. Well.
And that had only a gig of RAM, I think.
Okay.
I mean, I used to run lightweight ones, but they would be full distros.
That was
Yeah,
like 3 years ago though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got stolen out of my van like 3 years ago. So.
Okay. But anyway, so I did upgrade it, and I'm a little disappointed with it. But I think it's due more to. When Kubuntu, the last time they went up to KDE4, and there were some things. I mean, there seemed to be some things missing as far as some of the features that I like to tweak on my desktop or my screen. So those weren't available. There were not many themes. I couldn't seem to download themes. So I'm just gonna not upgrade any other of my machines to Kubuntu 15.04 until I see some changes there.
You could always just dump Kubuntu.
Well, and actually, Matt, that crossed my mind because I've been talking about moving more of my stuff over to BSD, but the problem. Well, actually, I could move that desktop to FreeBSD. It's a 32-bit system, and so I think FreeBSD will run on it.
Oh yeah,
But
there's 30
PCBSD won't run on it
There's
because
there's no 32-bit version of PCBSD.
exactly.
But PCBSD is just tweaked
yes,
FreeBSD.
with some some extra utilities and
utilities
things
and stuff.
things on there for the desktop, or for a not a server. But anyway, so I'm kind of thinking about that. So I don't know what's going to happen, but stay tuned.
You could, I think Dragonfly might make a 32-bit version.
Yeah.
You should look at Dragonfly.
Yeah. As long as I can do my video editing and just those kinds of things on it, then we should be good. But out at PenguCon, I think you attended the OpenBSD session? Were you there in
Yes.
that? Okay. And they were talking. I think I asked a question about what what you can really do with an open BSD system, and they um, kind of waxed effusive about you can you can do everything with it. I mean, you can
Yeah,
blah
because they
blah
were
blah
running it as their
as a
desktops.
but they never really show it that way. And I think when they show it
Well, because
purely from
nobody who's sane uses it that way.
hmm
Anybody
what
who's sane uses it
as
only
a
on,
server,
well,
sure.
mostly actually on network routing equipment.
hmm
So, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and speaking of that, not that I want to just hog this whole section of the show, but at my party that I was at last night, I was talking to somebody. We were talking about open source software. He's an attorney, and before he became an attorney, he had worked for this mining company, and they had used OpenBSD for some aspect of that whole operation, as far as the technical side of it. But they couldn't ship. They had mines in the U.S. They had mines overseas, but they couldn't ship because of the encryption
Oh yeah, that was
restriction.
back under that old
Yeah,
cryptology
he
thing.
was telling me that they couldn't at the time ship it overseas to their
Wow.
other facilities.
Oh, because that's munitions, isn't it?
Right,
It-
right,
yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
But the other overseas, they could download it from a local mirror.
So yeah. But anyway, so that's kind of what was going on with me.
Cool. Matt, anything new?
Yeah, no.
No. All right.
Yeah, you came over to my house and
Oh yeah, I looked at that, at putting that
quick, we better fill in what comes next. We don't
Put-
want to create any bad
putting that
impressions
network
here.
drop in that Mary wants, and it's not actually going to be that hard. Most of it's going to be done inside a crawl space
Oh, nice.
in her eaves, so
All right.
Yeah, on the third floor.
have to put some surface mount raceway up, and so we can get
Mhm.
the Cat 3 into that crawl space area.
Yeah.
And we can't do it in one jack.
Oh,
Remember
okay, two.
we have
Okay.
we have to put two side by side.
Okay, because I guess it comes in as Cat 3 and it's got to end up Cat 5.
Right, because we're relocating the modem also.
Yeah,
So the Cat
Oh.
3 is gonna have to go all the way to
across the way. Yeah.
to where her desk is, and then come out and go to the modem, and then the Cat 5 is gonna have to go back from the modem into the wall to go downstairs where she wants the jack.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have Uverse,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's actually a Cat 5 cable that they run. You want to run
No,
Cat 5
it's
the whole
not.
way.
We looked at
It's not.
Matt looked
Really?
at the
Yes.
jack.
Because
they
they
didn't
ran.
run any new wire at all. They used the existing wire.
Oh,
They
I
did
see.
the same thing in my house when I had Uverse put in.
Although I would suggest if you're moving it or running a new cable,
I'm not.
I would. Oh, okay. I
I'm
would
just
still
extending
suggest
the existing
He's-
Cat
yeah.
5, but
I'm just extending the existing cable.
Yeah.
okay.
So you say would there be a performance improvement? And I'm
No.
not. I would contact them and work
Well,
with them.
No.
I wouldn't say no. It wouldn't be performance improvement. It's just
Okay.
It would be
it's
for future
Ru-
forward is what it would.
well,
okay.
yeah, future forward, and then if there's any kind of crosstalk that could happen, that Cat 5 is better with crosstalk, with reducing cat crosstalk,
Mhm. Okay.
than Cat 3.
There'll be no
There'll
crosstalk.
be no change from what you have now, though.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So that's what Matt did.
All right. This week I'm going to army training.
What?
No. Well, that's what
Army
my
training?
workers, or my coworkers call it army training. I'm going for my CCNA boot camp.
Oh.
So
For people that don't know what those letters mean, what is that?
CCNA is the Cisco Certified Network Associate.
Oh, I was probably the only one that didn't know that then.
So I will, like right now,
Yeah.
my job is working on switches and routers at work, and I'm not certified yet. And my boss said, for my position, I don't have to be certified, but for the next position I want to go to, I do.
Oh, good.
So and they're paying for it, so I'm going for it.
Where is it going to
But
be?
If
Right.
I remember correctly, though, the CCNA is like the Red Hat certs, and like they expire every 3 years, right? You have to retest every 3 years.
Yeah. There's an expiration. I don't know what the time frame is. I gotta look that up, but
Is this locally
Yeah.
then, or are you traveling somewhere?
it's actually virtual. I can do it anywhere I want.
Oh, okay.
They said I could do it at home, but it's not going to work with kids and family.
No.
And that's here all the time.
Yep.
So I'm getting a quiet desk at work, away from everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
and sit down. And if that doesn't work for Monday,
Put a sign on
then
your door
I'm going
that
to a
says, "Do not
different
disturb."
hospital and getting a room by myself.
Yeah.
Ooh, in a hospital bed.
And
Set it up.
Check in.
Hey, and Tony, get a commode
Right.
because then you don't have to leave the room at all.
Well, those
They
hospital
actually,
rooms
yeah,
have bathrooms in them.
right.
Well, that's
Uh,
you could just do it in the bathroom. Set your laptop up on the sink.
All right, we're not going any further down that path.
No. But if you're not familiar with what a boot camp is, it's intensive training for like an entire year of training you would do at a college, all crammed into
1 week?
1 week, 5 days.
5 days.
Wow.
I like
Uh,
that.
yeah, and well, I haven't done one before, so this is kind of new for me. But I've already studied, and I've gone through all the training and the studying for the Cisco stuff. I just need like a couple of new things they've added in the last 10 years since I've taken my training,
Uh-huh.
and and then like they also give me a lot of study materials and practice tests and stuff, and it
Mhm.
all is included. Um, and they pay for the part of this training is they're paying for me to take the test and for a retake if I miss it the first time, then I can retake it again. Um, so it's
Sounds like
That's cool
fun.
that they're paying for the retake, 'cause a lot of places won't.
yeah,
You
yeah,
better
that's
get it
what
right, or you're gonna it's out of pocket.
My company
exactly.
Mhm.
will pay for the only cert they'll pay for. Well, unless you ask them because they have paid for other certs, but the cert they like to pay for is the Red Hat certs.
Hmm.
Okay, and the way it was presented to me was we'll pay for the first one and we'll pay for the second one, and then if you need to take it a third time, we'll have a talk.
Right. All right. So that's gonna be my next week coming up, and it's 9 to 9 every day, 12 hours. So
Wow.
it's gonna be
That's intense.
yeah, it's gonna be intense.
But I
They
like to make
actually write in
plans.
it. It says it's CCNAX Intense Boot Camp Training. That's the name of it.
When you
Mhm.
start pushing it like that, you
Is
get really focused on it. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it one of those guaranteed pass?
yeah, yeah. And like I said, they have labs and stuff even afterwards for a year. I can have access to the labs to be able to take the test. But I plan on taking the test within the couple weeks after taking the training. And that's what everybody tells me. Don't wait to do it because either you won't do it or you'll forget a lot of stuff. And
Right. There, those cram courses like that are meant to be so you take the test right away and then you pass the test and then you forget it all anyway.
right, yeah. So yeah, so that was it. So Tom, anything new with you going on the last couple weeks?
One of the things that impressed me last night or yesterday evening was updating my longest installed server, which is my mail server. I installed it in November of 2004, and I've done in-place upgrades of Debian ever since.
Wow.
And I've very minimal modification of files for things that have been deprecated. The only thing that broke after this upgrade was Apache. Apparently, the lock file has been deprecated. I think I was getting warnings before. I just had to comment out one line, and it started back up. And I was just kind of blown away by this. I'm like, that's 11 years of updates
Yeah,
in place.
Yeah,
That's why
Mm.
when I had my own business too, I exclusively used Debian on my servers because the in-place upgrades are great. Only one time did I get really screwed, and that was due to when Samba switched from the flat file to TDB SAM. I didn't read the release notes, and I screwed a client. So I had to spend 3 days there. I mean, 24 hours through a day, 3 days there to get them fixed and back up and running.
Wow.
Yeah, Samba didn't break, but I think I've been good at keeping up the changes on that because I do have Samba on my mail server where I was copying files back and forth to it, and it runs Apache just for a webmail interface. So, but
Yeah.
I hardly use that anymore. It just doesn't work well. It's too many. I have too much email in there.
Yeah, with my schools, I used to use it as a domain controller and a file server.
Cool. Well, I guess we're
Okay.
gonna go on to
Matt, what's happening with the kernel?
Matt.
And it's time for the kernel news. The main line is 4.1-RC2, released on 5.4, and then the newest stable kernel is 4.0.2, released on 5.6. Then we have stable kernel 3.19.7, released on 5.6. Long-term kernel 3.18.13, released on 5.5. Long-term kernel 3.14.41, released on 5.6. Long-term kernel 3.12.42, released on 5.4. Long-term kernel 3.10.77 released on 5.6. And that's all for the kernel news.
Thank you, Matt. So, have you heard of any distros moving to the 4 kernel yet? The 4.0?
I think what's OpenSUSE's rolling version? Tumbleweed. I think that they're on it.
Are they?
I believe I saw something to that effect this past week.
I have not seen anything in the news.
Fedora's not on it.
I don't know. I'm seeing.
All right. Well, I guess while you're looking at that, then
No,
we will-
3.19.5.
yeah, because you just did a new install on your laptop, right?
Yes.
What version of Fedora?
21.
21. All right. All right, and now we're going on to
Tony, what's going on with the Linux distributions this week?
the distros. So last week we left off with what, Magia?
No.
No, I can't remember.
And that's I think the first one that we're going to cover, actually it's the very end of April, because you remember our last episode was at PenguinCon, and there were several April days after that, and I believe that our first one is QoS. No, not Cube. No, actually, speaking of cubes, hang on just a second, Tony. They just had a release candidate come out for Cubes 3, so I'm really looking forward to that. That's a very cool security distro.
All right.
Yeah, all right. Yep, so first off, we have on 426, we have Q4OS 1.2, and they are based on Debian 8. So it's the new release.
Yeah, and actually, I'm sorry, Tony, did you have something else to say about that?
Well, they're running the Trinity desktop, which is
Yeah, they
pretty
are.
interesting. That's lightweight, right?
Yeah, I think that's, I want to say it's like the KDE 3.
Oh,
flash.
that's right. Okay.
But they also introduced with this release a new logo. I don't know if you saw that or not, but their previous one was basically just the Q4 OS and without any kind of graphic associated with it. And so
Yeah.
now they've got a nice looking little logo.
Cool.
One thing too, initial users of this updated version had reported some disk space being eaten up. I guess it was some various incidents are being logged, and and Matt, you've talked about that.
Oh yeah.
Kind of.
The runaway log files.
Yeah.
Most of the time with us it's modsec, but
hmm So anyway, but yeah, that's kind of what's going on with them.
All right. Next up on the 27th, we have Backbox Linux 4.2, and they're Ubuntu based for penetration testing and forensics.
Yeah, and some distros are foregoing 32-bit versions, but these guys still have theirs available, so that's kind of good. And their system requirements are pretty modest. Hey, this is maybe what I should have put on my friend's laptop. 512 mega RAM,
yeah.
6 gig of disk space.
You don't want to install forensics.
Yeah,
A
no, I know.
penetration of forensics testing.
I know, it was a joke. It was a joke. So anyway.
All right. Next up on the 28th, we have Midnight BSD 0.6, and they're based on FreeBSD.
hmm Yeah, and actually they spun off Midnight BSD, I think, when FreeBSD 6.1 was released a few years ago. And I believe this particular version of Midnight BSD, ZFS, that the file system was imported into it. Oh no, not this version. I think it was back at 0.3. It was imported, and they've got it set up where it can be used in two ways. You can either dedicate the entire disk, or you can use GPT partitions. And I think we've mentioned before that the project maintainer is in Ann Arbor. I don't know if he's still working at the University of Michigan, but he's based in Ann Arbor.
Oh, that's cool.
Should be a good interview op sometime.
Yeah, you're the BSD girl. Why don't you?
Yeah, I think I should. Actually,
right.
I think I should actually review this, and then maybe
Yeah.
we can interview him.
But there's a flaw in this OpenSSL version that a specially crafted packet can cause it to just gobble RAM until the system crashes.
Wow.
So, yeah, OpenSSL, you gotta love it.
All right. Next up, we have Deep in 2014.3, and they're also Ubuntu based. And I don't know.
Well, this yeah. One of the things they did is they changed. I think I don't know if they mentioned it there in DistroWatch, but they kind of changed the look of their name. They went to all lowercase,
Yeah.
and
Wonder what's with that.
I, I don't know. I guess they just maybe wanted to be consistent. But they did mention on their site when I took a look that the upgrade script that if you want to use the upgrade script, it only supports versions deep in 2014.1 or 2014.2. So if you're using an earlier version, the script that they've got for upgrading won't work.
Hmm.
So, and apparently this release also has quite a few optimizations. So,
Yes, and languages. Deepin supports 23 different languages. And when they support a languages, that means they try and do it with all the docs. So almost all of their docs are also available in all of those 23 languages.
Wow.
mm,
Nice.
wow.
All right. Next up, we have. I'm not sure if I can say this right.
Chromixium?
Chromixium. Yeah. OS 1.0. So this is the first time I've seen it on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've never been here before.
No, and actually last weekend this was one that I was going to try to install on my friend's laptop
my
because
God.
I hit DistroWatch to look, but I had a
Well, I
problem
think
downloading it.
The
So-
system requirements are probably pretty light for it.
Well, it's Ubuntu based, and but
Mhm.
made to look like Chrome OS.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah, and it sounds like they went this route. They released the distro, and now they're going to shift their attention to start working on the documentation. So they've got they apparently have got some helpful guidebooks, and they've also got their wiki site set up. So as you continue to check on this, I think it's going to grow and grow.
All right. Next up, we have is Simplicity Linux 15.4, and they're a lightweight puppy based Linux distro for desktops and netbooks.
Yep. Lightweight, simple,
Yeah.
simplicity.
We were talking about OpenBSD earlier, weren't we?
Yes,
With
we
that,
were.
yeah, and they have a release, OpenBSD 5.7,
Yep.
and you know what's neat about OpenBSD? Every time they have a release, is they,
They have a
a
song.
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 Yeah.
Did you listen to the? Well, you did, Mary.
I
You
did.
Sent it out.
Yeah,
But I like that song.
I know. I thought it was
Yeah.
pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. So we may.
Yeah. I think every time there's an OpenBSD release, that should be our outro music.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's our. We'll start that off.
You know, when
Maybe
we were
this
in that
week.
talk, they were playing some music before they started, and it was the OpenBSD songs.
Mm-hmm.
And the one song was like a blues song, and it said that it's a open fish or open source fish.
That's the current one.
Yeah. Well, every time I was saying it, I didn't realize that's what they're playing, and I thought it was saying open source. It's a fish. B-I.
Oh, hey, speaking of that. Oh, well, actually, as soon as the distro's over, before we get to the interview, that little revenue thing I mentioned,
Oh
we
yeah.
got to get that out.
Right.
When
Okay.
should I do it?
Yeah. Right. That's a good time.
Right after. Okay, we'll do it.
All right.
All right.
Before
We
or
have-
after the.
Right after we do our distro segment,
So-
before we get into
so-
interviewing Tom.
So after we do the top 5.
Yeah.
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 All right. And next up we have is RoboLinux 7.9.1, and they're Debian based, and with an option of virtual machine pack compatible of running Windows and Windows applications.
Yeah, they got. I tell you, I'm trying to figure out how many different versions of that distro they've got. Tony, I hope you're not contagious.
I'm sorry, I should have turned the other way.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
contagious.
He's
he
definitely
sends-
contagious,
he
Mary.
sends-
and
he's-
thank you for being my shield.
Yeah, he looks at us and
I'm
he
glad I'm
sends.
down here.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom, you're in the best spot. Well, actually, if I were sitting in my car, that would be the best spot.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, they like to credit their users with for asking for more privacy and security applications, so they loaded them up on this version.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, next up is the SMS or the Superb Mini Server 2.0.8, and they're Slackware based for like what back office, small office stuff.
Yeah, they indicated too with this particular release, if you're running on cloud on your server, that apparently has been updated in this release from 7.37.0 up to 7.42.1. But if you're running on cloud, you should skip the curl update because it breaks the on cloud server.
Oh no.
Minor
So-
inconvenience there.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, there's a little heads up. Um, so
All right. Here's one of our favorite Linux
Can you do it?
distros.
Can you do it, Tony?
drum roll.
I can't remember now.
Come on.
Maka Lulu. No. No.
No.
Makululu.
Close
Makulu.
enough.
Makulu. Makulu.
Makulu.
Makulu.
So what's going
Nine.
on with Makulu?
They have an XFCE release.
They do. Actually, they
It's their light edition.
yeah. And by the way, just to add a couple other things to it, they've got and we've talked about this briefly. They've got that Makulu constructor, which is a way to build the ISO, and they used it to build this release. And they include it so that if you want to clone or you want to basically take a snapshot of your release and use it as a backup in case something happens, you can do it through their constructor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it is pretty nice.
Yeah. I think though, with this release, they're really trying to punk their users
Why?
because it looks exactly like their full blown version, but comes with almost no software installed.
Oh, they do. They've
Hmm.
got I think they've got the normal edition and their kind of light edition where you get the base system and then you can customize it.
They look exactly the same.
Oh,
Ah.
yeah. They've got, by the way, too, Netflix and Popcorn Time now are fully supported in the normal edition, which is the
You know,
pre-installed
I've heard
edition.
about this popcorn time. What the heck is it?
I think it's a movie finder kind of thing where you can find movies online and watch them. I don't know for sure because
I
I've
don't
never
know.
used it.
I got Netflix.
I've never
Yeah.
heard of that. Yeah.
I use Netflix and I like it. I mean, once they got it working in Linux, it just is great.
Well, yeah, because I had to do that one where you switched your browser and your browser identified that it was running on Windows,
Oh,
and then you could use it in Linux.
Oh
but
yeah.
Now all you got to do is run it in Chrome on Linux, and they're fine.
I
Cool.
think there was a PPA that you had to download some kind of a little program.
That was the one where you had to
Yeah.
switch the browser.
Yeah,
Yeah, they finally moved away from Silverlight.
Right.
and
that's
that-
what it was.
That was a dependency that was on there. And as I understood, that was actually a big push from the movie studios because they felt as though a Microsoft DRM product would be secure and no one could rip off the movies. So
Sure.
that's why they used it. It was not because they wanted to.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Sam.
And last on our list is Tiny Core Linux 6.2. And they're the world's smallest Linux distro.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
They're very small, and I
12.
once tried to build a thin clients with this for a client.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work.
How'd
out.
that go?
It didn't work
Huh.
I was trying to use them to RDP connect to servers and get the desktops delivered,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But
Oh,
so I
right.
wound up using I stripped down Windows 2000 and used that instead.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool. And now on to the top 5 of the week.
The distro of the week, according to DistroWatch, calculated by website hits per day.
And at number 5, we have Fedora with 1073.
And trending down.
And number 4, we have OpenSUSE with 1201.
And trending down.
And number 3 is Ubuntu with 1722.
And trending down.
And in the number 2 spot is Debian with 2194.
And trending down.
And in the number 1 spot is Mint
Gotta love that minty goodness.
with 3083.
And trending down.
Huh.
All
Well, they all
right.
were trending down.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
From 6 up, it's trending down. You have to get down to 7. Makalulu before you're trending up.
Good thing that, well. Makulu. I had such high hopes.
I just have to.
We have to give Tony a
Thanks,
hard
man.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Anyway, before we jump into our next segment, this is something I actually should have mentioned earlier. We always are grateful when listeners send us little donations and that type of thing
Yes.
because it helps us replace aging equipment, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I discovered a great revenue generating opportunity
Oh no.
that will.
A swear jar.
Oh.
Are we really
Are
going
you
to institute a swear jar?
Are you kidding me, Matt?
What?
Did you see this?
I did not. No.
That's exactly what it is. I figure it's
$5 a pop or
that's
what?
I figure, yeah, I don't know if you can see that out there, folks in YouTube land, but this is a swear jar. It's got all the kinds of little swear symbols on there, and it says, "If you say it, you must pay it." And I figure with Matt, we probably will be up a couple $100 in no
We'll
time.
be redoing
Yeah.
the whole studio shortly.
So anyway, yeah, I just thought this would be a great money making opportunity. I can't believe
Can
you
I
guessed
just pay
it.
$20 in advance?
Yeah, we figure a dollar each time.
Oh, you're gonna be.
I have
eating
$2 in my pocket, but and they'll be staying in my pocket.
Yeah, here. Wait a minute. I'm gonna pay. in
No, I
Figured how
can't
much
believe
swearing can go on.
I can't. Yeah, I can't believe he guessed it.
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
surprised.
Yeah,
That's funny.
is it because you saw the box and you guessed?
No. Here, that should cover me for.
Oh
about
my
a week.
God!
Wow.
That's
A
gotta be
week.
2 broadcasts.
Oh my God! Are you joking?
No.
Come on.
Put it in there.
All right.
Hey.
All right. I'm putting the 3 $5 bills in there. Now see, Matt believes now he has the right to
Now
swear.
I can. Now
Oh,
I can
no.
freaking swear all I want
Oh
until
no.
the $15 is used up. Get
Uh,
ready to bleep, Tony.
Oh my God! All right. So anyway, that was my little.
This may have been a bad idea for you guys.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might backfire. All right. Well, that was my little bleep.
All right. So this week, we asked Tom to come on because he actually lives right in the area, just a few miles from my house,
Cool.
and he is a business owner working on computers, and he runs as much open source as he can. So I'll let you go.
All right, thank you. So I've always been a huge fan of open source. Been messing with Linux for I don't know since the early '90s when I used to have to beat my head over getting the mouse to work in X and Fedora. Then I became a Linux admin for a company working in corporate IT around 1999 and fell in love with it. Once I got good at it, you get hooked. When I started my company in 2003, one of my things I wanted to do was continue with open source because I was able to run it in a corporate environment and continue with my company. So pretty much everything we do internally, what we run our servers on, is all open source. FreeBSD runs our file
Rah, rah,
server
rah.
yeah, but it's free NAS, so it's based on FreeBSD. I'm not a FreeBSD expert. My point of sale system, we wrote our own because at the time when we switched over to this point of sale system, there wasn't anything out there. Now, years later, I know there's probably a few projects we're debating out and continuing our project. I'd like to open source it, but the code is horrible. And
You
it's
could still open source it.
yeah.
Maybe you'll get it cleaned up.
That's what we first realized. We haven't really wrote config files. We wrote the passwords into the
Oh
right.
my god.
Yeah,
Hard
yeah.
coded password.
There's a reason I don't code a lot. Everything runs in series of virtual machines. I'm using PHP VirtualBox for that. Then the virtual machines that spin up are like my mail server running Debian, and a few other servers. The only thing really that we run closed source would be any graphics work we do. Sorry, I use Photoshop. I have a virtual machine running Windows 7 with Photoshop in it. I'm sorry, I have not found a good open source equivalent to do the level of graphics that we need to edit for doing web design. But on everything else we use, the accounting software I'm using is the KMI Money. It has great compatibility with downloading standard bank import files, so I can actually produce my P&Ls and everything on that. Works really well. Of course, I can just export the data out of my point of sale. It just runs a MySQL backend. The other things we do is we switched from the Fog project to the Crucible WDS, which is for deploying it. Because although we base ourselves on open source, the reality is we fix Windows all day. That's where it's at. That's where our clients are for the retail store. And of course, with most of the environments we're dealing due to the enterprise software that they run requiring Windows for a back end, that's what we service all day. But doesn't mean we can't be open source on our side. I'd love to push it more to my clients, but for example, I got a carpet company down the street. The enterprise program they use that manages their carpet, it does not have any support for Linux. So there's no way to run Linux on any of their desktops. And that kind of goes true for a lot of my clients that are niche businesses and things like that. So wherever we can, we've used it. We've actually put a lot of file servers in for small companies. that are usually based on FreeNAS. I got a handful of them running it that works great. And firewalls we recommend are pfSense. I deploy those. They make a great solution for the VPN, security-wise, updates. Never had a problem with them. Same with them. In-place upgrades have always been really smooth. The pfSense boxes for my clients. For example, when the Heartbleed came out, there was a vulnerability in the Open VPN from Open SSL. No problems doing any of the patches for my clients. So it's worked really smooth. And of course, their Windows clients work really well. So to them, it's transparent. They really don't know what's running in the background. They're just happy that it's all running and working. And I'm happy when it's running and working. So
Yep. Very
Yeah.
good. Very good. So for accounting software, what do you use? Because
It's-
in the business world, QuickBooks really has that locked up pretty much.
yeah, and QuickBooks is a software that it's a love-hate relationship because a lot of the clients don't like it. It's a very over-bloated program. The system requirements for it are just ridiculous. You're like, oh, you need 16 gigs of RAM to run the new version, and of course it's based on .NET, which breaks a lot, and we've had to reload a lot of systems just based on it. So I've always looked for another solution. I'm open to if anyone has suggestions, send an email, send a message. KMI Money's been the best one I found for everything I need to do to track all of my transactions. Because when I import to my bank account, you can set it up to automatically align a lot of things. It knows the Marathon gas stations I purchase at, so that goes into the fuel category as soon as I import it. So I spend less time doing my P&L because it drops all the ledger categories right in. It's actually a well-written program. It doesn't really have nice invoicing features that QuickBooks has, so I haven't been able to find a good open source solution I could recommend to my clients. I'd love to find one. I'd use a different one myself if I could that was more complete. But this is the best one I found. I liked it a lot better than New Cash. Wasn't real happy with that one. But the KMI Money, it's just a great project. I need to start producing some videos and tutorials on how to use it because I didn't find their documentation to be incredible. I don't think there's many YouTube videos out there, and the ones I've seen weren't in English. So that's been on my to-dos because now that I've been using it for 4 years, before it was a series of open office spreadsheets. So I've got a lot of data in it, and it's never let me down. It works really well. It's fast, it's lightweight, and it's cross-compatible. They compile for all the versions.
Hey, Tom, have you ever tried Grisby?
No, I have not.
Okay, because Grisby, it's one, I think when I was doing a review of a distro, I can't remember which distro, there's been so many, last year, Grisby was installed, and it's a finance manager, it's accounting for everyone as the website. Now, I've never used it, so it may or may not suit your needs.
I've used it in the past.
Is
Yeah,
it-
I really like it, and it's used, or it has what are the double
Double
accounting?
entry?
Yeah, double entry, and you
Mhm.
can run multiple accounts, and you can
Quick
import
note,
and export.
it's GRISBI. Don't put in a Y.
Oh no!
You'll go somewhere you don't want to be.
Yeah, just don't.
Oh, yeah, I'm
There
very
isn't-
sorry. I should have spelled it for you
Yeah.
and spared you that.
Glad they can't see my screen.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a real basic interface, but
How does the KMI Money? How does that work with your payroll? Do you do your own payroll or do you outsource that?
I do outsource my payroll because I don't want to get with the taxes, and it does not support calculating payroll taxes. QuickBooks obviously has as an advantage. I use a full service accounting company to make my life easier because taxes are harder. There's more rules than there are in anything else. So I actually outsource all my accounting to an accounting firm. Even if you looked up my tax ID, it shows up as my accountant's address because all my state forms and everything just gets sent to them. They process, they send all the checks. They even have a stamp with my name. They just tell me how much I'm paying. I was like, okay, it's not negotiable, so just pay it.
Yeah.
So same thing with the payroll. They for like the salaries, I just pick up the checks from them. They have them all done, pre-printed. I just have to hand them to the employees. Makes my life a little bit easier.
Now, your employees, are they hourly or salary?
Salary and contract. Most of them are
Okay.
paid as contractors.
Okay.
So,
So then that's a set payment too.
Yeah. They get paid based on, well, it's a
Because
percentage of job.
where payroll gets really wonky, at least in my experience, is when you have hourly employees because that number always changes.
Yes, it does a lot. And with the contractors, it's my easiest. Like my web developer and guys who build the wiring and infrastructure, they're just paid based on the job, which works out pretty well because I've had each of them set up their own LLCs, independents. So I pay their companies. They work for me exclusively, but I didn't pay their companies. So it becomes a pass through. Like they keep
Do
taxes.
you make them set up an
simple.
LLC or can they use a DBA?
They can use the DBA, whatever works for them, whatever's tax advantages for them. So I just send them over to my accountant and said, just talk to them. They'll talk to you about your life and tell you what to do. That's what they did for me. Yeah, taxes are not something I want to get involved in. It is nice that QuickBooks does have the payroll support, and that comes down to another reason that a lot of companies run it. The nice thing is the web version of QuickBooks. At least they can, if they did want to use open source, they can use the web version.
Now
of
the web
QuickBooks.
version, I've never used it. Used to install QuickBooks for my clients because they all everybody needs QuickBooks.
Yeah.
But I got out of business just as the web version was starting, so I've never had any experience with it. Does that need a 2S server to run?
That the web version, because it's all hosted by them.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's
so you can't host the web.
right. They have
Oh,
they have
okay.
no way to post it that way. And unfortunately, I know it's missing some features. I don't have the list. You go on the website, it's got a comparison. I know there's just some things it doesn't do, and so some people still have to run it. Like I still don't think they have a good inventory module, so they have to run it locally. And if they're running QuickBooks point of sale with like registers and scan guns, they end up running QuickBooks locally. The web version doesn't support that.
Wow.
So,
And for your clients, when you're doing work at your clients, now I realize that in the real world, most of your desktop deployments are probably Windows.
Right.
But for their back ends, for their server side, do you use a lot of open source there also?
yeah, whenever
Wherever you can
possible.
sneak it in.
Yeah, wherever I can sneak it in. We've got a few dozen like accounting offices and that are running FreeNAS file servers. If you've used the latest version of FreeNAS, it's really nice. You can create user permissions groups. You can do a lot of the same stuff. Use as essentially a domain controller in a Windows environment, so you can get that granular access. Go, okay, I want them to have read-only access to this folder and write access to this. So we've deployed that at some of the clients, and they're really happy with it. For a file server, I just can't see the license fees and everything associated with Windows being paid. Just all they need to do is store files and have permissions.
You're gonna pay all those fees just to run SharePoint.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And I know Microsoft's trying to reduce some of the entry costs with these essential servers and things like that, which have limits of like 25 users. But it's just the updates take so long to load and everything else. They run these
And
FreeNAS
it's so
boxes.
resource intensive. If you've ever
Very.
seen the SharePoint server, so
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Oh yeah. So we have actually a lot of Server 2012 installs that we manage for clients, and it's just bloated.
Server 2012. Whenever I have to do anything with that, it just drives me insane because the graphical environment by default is that freaking Metro environment.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
On a
Jeez.
server. Give me a break.
Especially we have a client with a 30 license terminal server,
Oh.
and they actually do it to run QuickBooks. They run it. It's a complicated setup I won't get into, but essentially we host it on 2012 server and it runs QuickBooks, and everybody logs into it. And that thing is just a pain.
Wow.
It's got 32 gigs of
Probably
RAM.
use it to heat your whole office.
Yeah. it's a very fast server they purchased on there, but the licensing was just. I think the licensing for all that, because the terminal server licenses have increased so
Yeah.
much, was close to the cost of the server too. So
Is
Jeez.
that CALs or something like that?
Yeah.
Is that
all
what
the
it's
cows
called?
you need.
Okay.
And when you have a small company doing that, do you do seat cows or machine cows?
It varies with what they're going to do. For them, it's just the user cal because they're everyone's a different user logging in from different computers.
Okay.
So if you tied it to their machine, it wouldn't.
Right.
Right. So you tie it to the user
Right.
on that for their licensing. So
Because with schools, a lot of times I used to use machine cows.
yeah, because it's multiple people using one computer, so
Right.
it's machine cal. These are multiple people RDPing in, so we did it the other way. And it's kind of weird. You actually got to buy user cals and terminal server cals. So the terminal server
Yeah.
cals doesn't automatically give you a user cal, so you got to buy
Yep.
2 licenses
Wow.
per
It's
person.
crazy.
Jeez.
And well, when you as you know, when you're doing it for education, though, you get those way deep
Yes,
discounts.
yes. Yeah, this place tried to claim they were education. Is they tried to do all kinds of things. They say, do what you can to get the license cheaper. I mean,
Right.
they thought I was marking them up. I said, no, here's a link. You can get them cheaper. I just install them. I don't care what you pay for them.
Exactly. There you go.
I wish there was a better solution for multiple people terminaling on a Linux server, but of course because they run Windows apps. But the OwnCloud is also something I've deployed for a few clients. I have a paranoid law firm.
Aren't they all?
Oh, this one's particularly got the tinfoil hat on, but for good reason. They work in, I don't know the technical term, lobby law. They help
Oh.
write the things you hate that go to Washington, and the companies contract them. I don't know exactly how it works. Like companies contract them, and they help write the stuff so lobbyists can present stuff. Either way, because they work in Washington, they fear the government, and they said, yeah, we don't use Dropbox because, well, we don't.
Right.
And let's just say other people can see what's in there. And So they've always worried about that, and one of the solutions for them was running OwnCloud because it kept everything in house for them.
Right.
And
And
they,
even the remote workers could still connect to the
yes, and they wanted self-signed certificates because they really didn't like that. Now this is before the Snowden revealed how the NSA was getting things. So essentially, the NSA has been able to say, don't go to the certificate authorities and say, we need a copy of that cert. Oh, and you can't tell anyone we took a copy.
Right.
So they could essentially decrypt anything that wasn't done with.
Right. They were getting the copies of the certs, so they can even man in the middle everything.
They can man in the middle of everything. So that's why they wanted even a self-sign. So they, they were aware of all this, which I thought was kind of cool. Like this was, like I said, before the Snowden release, we started putting some of the stuff in, and so they kept everything like that. I thought that was kind of it was kind of fun to work with them because I'm like, hey, they want all open source stuff. And the Windows clients for OwnCloud work great. I mean, I use it. We use OwnCloud at my office as well for our files. But I got to admit, the Windows version seemed to work really, really smooth. There's even the version updates and everything else have gone really smooth with that too. I remember we had some hiccups when they did a major release. Some things had to be changed in some config files, but nothing major. So that's gone well.
You know, I run my own instance of OwnCloud here in the house, and it keeps all my laptops backed up all the time, and I love it. I even use it as my newsreader too. There's an app you can add in for a newsreader.
I've never tried that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But one of the news items that came up was that the next version, 8.1, isn't going to support Windows Server natively.
Oh, really?
So you're gonna, if you go and do that upgrade, you might have to do a little extra work.
Well, maybe it'll be kind of
What does it
packaged
mean
up
by
as a
support
module or
Windows
something
Server,
like that.
You know, I didn't read the article. I just saw the headline.
Well,
It's a
they're running it on
drive-by.
a Linux box,
Yeah, so
so
they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm sure it means running it on.
And I just switched this year when we got the latest version of FreeNAS when we built our new RAID array. We moved my own cloud into it and running in a BSD jail. That works really, really well.
Nice.
It's really solid. It's all those consolidation things. Going okay with our virtual machine running 5 other machines. That's a fairly good machine, but it's still running 5 other machines. And I said, let's see. We built this beefy RAID server, and the fact that it's a RAID server with a lot of drives means it's got a lot of low latency, fast file syncing. And when we moved it over there, it works really, really well. I use the package installer they have right through FreeNAS to set it up. Absolutely the smoothest install ever.
And it's using ZFS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things that makes it so fast.
Yes. The ZFS and enough RAM to handle the ZFS.
Well,
so
that's a given. You got to have the RAM to run ZFS.
1 gig per terabyte.
Yes.
So yeah.
Is that the rule of thumb?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rule of thumb is 1 gig per terabyte. We went a little over that because we're running these things in the jails, but the jails seem to be fairly efficient. We also run the Crucible WDS, the deployment system, in that as well. I gotta redo the guy's documentation who made Crucible WDS for the FreeBSD. He's got typos, and they're if you think you're gonna, it's stuff he says you can copy paste, but you can't because it's the way he set up it. And there's a couple different ways I set it up, and I got to recreate the document. I want to donate back and create the documentation for it. Quisher, who you mentioned earlier, actually, I sent him on that project, and he set it up. He set it up the way I want to set it up, which is instead of running it on BSD, they actually have an updater if you run it on a standard distribution. So I want to put it to a standard distribution, but point it to the, because it uses NFS shares, point the NFS shares over to the FreeNAS box. Because the advantage of that is we have so many streams going at once, is keeping it fast by pulling it off the RAID server as pulling it off to a standard standalone box.
Now you're moving a lot of data in your business, and internal to the business, do you use fiber or are you still on copper?
Still on copper, just everything's gigabit switches.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fast enough. For example, we can Windows 7 or Windows 8 actually, because they're about the same size. We can reload a machine in under 9 minutes.
Oh wow!
So it's still pretty fast. And if the person has an SSD, because the limit isn't our copper, it's their system.
It's the disk I/O.
Right.
It's always the disk I/O.
It's always a disk I/O. So with the RAID array being able to push it at a pretty high rate, I think the fastest we've got one done is in 5.5 minutes with an SSD and an i7. So we've had some machines we can image even faster, which is nice. But then once you get so many concurrent machines, topped off with we're dumping files back and forth for clients across the network. Yeah, but because the computers only come in with gigabit, there's not much point in moving beyond that.
Okay.
Hasn't, at least I don't see it just yet. Maybe eventually.
Well, because you could move the data in bulk to the switch.
Yeah.
And then the switch would be your slowdown point. Then the switch is breaking it out anyway.
Right.
Anyway.
No, these are challenges as we get busier and busier. The majority of time we spend waiting because when people come in to get their computers, even if we are re-imaging them, nobody backs up anything. That is an absolute guarantee. So we're always moving 20, 30, 40, 50 gigs at a time over our network off of their computers, getting it backed up. And we use PXE boot. We'll boot Ubuntu off PXE, get their files. There's no point booting up Windows. It's broken. It's very broken, especially Windows 8. The Windows 8 updates break regularly. And
Wow.
yeah, because people shut them off because they're impatient because they take a ridiculous amount of time to install the updates. So they just unplug it, which for Windows 8 is recovery for that is worse than ever. Hopefully this fixes Windows 10. So there's a common procedure when people bring things in is boot it off Linux because, like I said, a non-bootable machine. Boot it off Linux, dump everything across to the server, so everything gets dumped across. As soon as it's dumped across,
Do you use something like DD Rescue for that? What do you?
No, because the hard drive is completely readable. It's just Windows doesn't boot.
Okay.
So it's rare
So
that
you're
the
just
hard
dumping
drive.
their data off.
Yeah, we're just dumping the data off. So we're just pushing the data across networks. At even time, as we're fairly busy, there's always like 3 or 4 computers dumping data or receiving data back. Because after you reload it, you reverse the process and start dumping it across the other way.
Right. Now, when you're doing that, are you only doing like their home directories?
Yes.
Okay. So if they have data in wacky places, you're not going to guarantee.
We
that.
ask them if they have data in anywhere else.
Yeah, they never know.
They never know. We try to do a QuickBooks because QuickBooks has decided with the latest versions to save under public, and a series of subfolders under public documents, Intuit, and things like that, which confuse a lot of people. Because even backup programs by default, if you load something like iDrive for backup, it goes, okay, let me just back up your home folder. Oh, by the way, QuickBooks didn't put it in the home folder. Previously, QuickBooks put it in the program files.
Right.
And now it's saving it under public, which of course creates
being under program. I always used to drive me crazy. I would just link it over to a file in their home directory.
Right. So we evaluate if they're a business user or if they're just a home user. Go, I don't know. I save everything. I save all my pictures on there. So 99% of the time, we're just going to grab their home directories, pull that. We have a Python script that's needs to be rewritten a little bit that we run that will just grab it with skipping like the app data because there's nothing good in there unless they're running Outlook.
Right.
It also skips all the temp files. I got to update it a little bit for Windows 8. It broke, and I'm not good at Python. And my friend that wrote it's not around. It's on my to-do list though. But mostly it's just grab it, dump it, and then we have another script on the server because we wait till people pick up their computers before we dump it. And of course, you end up with all this data stored in there, and it's all locked down and passworded. Then we have a script that runs after 30 days to start dumping their data back away after they pick up their computer and start deleting it all. So
you know, on your servers.
Right.
If you need Python help, Mary's the expert at Python.
Yeah,
Okay.
I took a course.
all right.
I just got my my diploma. Yes, it said with distinction. I took one course.
You got one course more than me. So.
Now, deleting the customer data, do you do that for your customer's peace of mind or just to save space?
Both.
Okay.
Both. We tell them we have that, and we've had people say, I don't want any of it retained. I have no problem. I will retain it. As soon as you walk out the door, I can delete it. Just by default, we do it for 30 days because what happens is people, we've had people, we've copied the data back, and they literally erase their hard drive. We had a guy, it was just funny. He picks his computer up, he took it home, he put the Dell CD in, and he erased it and then complained we didn't put his data back. And I'm like, bring it back in. What do you mean your data's not there? And he says, yeah, no, the drivers are loaded. We look, and the Dell CD's still in there. He just ran the recovery CD.
Oh,
geez.
no.
People do the strangest things. So, of course, we're like, well, you erased it. He goes, I thought that's what I had to do. I'm like, no, that's what you paid us to do is erase and reload instead of back up. So don't worry. We'll start the process over. So
did you charge him again?
now we were nice. We generally give them 14 days to break it, and we'll just cover it because it's not worth the argument type thing.
I used to do the same thing.
Yeah. My employees are like, oh, they're just going to keep bringing it back. And I'm like, no, they won't. Statistically, it's worked out. So maybe 1 out of 100 people brings it back because they take it home and just do something like they had viruses that they tried to download something to get this movie program running.
And then they do the same thing
They do the same thing. Yeah. Another guy was really funny. He was looking for a free version of Minecraft for his kids. So he brings it in. Of course, this guy, he found minecraftfree.exe and screwed his computer up. So we fix it, and he goes home and he loads the same thing. And I told him, I said, we charge flat rate $50 for a virus from Oasis. Minecraft's less than $50. Don't throw that out there.
And you're not just paying $100.
Yeah. So because he did it like immediately, we fixed it for free again for him. But this is one of the reasons we don't delete their data for 30 days because, well, people. Yeah. So sometimes there's just magic on there. I mean, we're helpful as possible to people, but there is the things you have to do like that. So you kind of run into that issue sometimes.
Very good. Another thing I used to do for my clients a lot was I I put a lot of stuff on the invoice, but then if it's little dinky stuff, I then zero cost it.
Yeah.
Say, oh, I threw this all in for you because it makes it look better. And,
Yeah. We have a lot of canned. Our invoice system's freeform, and so we get a lot of canned stuff that gets auto filled in. Yeah. We're actually using we've integrated this is called Tiny MCE editor. It's an open source one. That's actually what writes our invoices. Because, like I said, we Frankensteined a lot of this gear. I got the framework from a guy like 10 years ago, and we just started Frankensteining it together and had to update lots of things. And like I said, the code's become very, very sloppy. I've talked to people that seem to be an interest in open sourcing it. It takes a lot of sanitation to get the code fixed, but I'm more than willing to. I have no problem giving away or putting money behind a project if I find the right developer for it.
What's it written in?
All PHP.
All PHP.
But it needs a rewrite.
So you wanted to be in your own little special hell.
Yeah, I want to be in my own special hell. We started in PHP. It's still in PHP. No, I don't have a problem rewriting another language that maybe a little bit less complicated or something like Python.
Don't put it back, so rewrite it in Perl.
Yeah, Perl makes my eyes cross. I can at least edit PHP. So, but it's been a work in progress. One of the things we focused on, and I have not seen our point of sale like this, was the way we focus on efficiency with it. So if a customer comes in, if they're a returning customer, we just use a price gun to put tag numbers under and assign everyone a customer number. So right at the top, you just punch in their 4-digit customer number and enter, and boom, all their history, everything's pulled up, all the quotes they've ever done. So we can say, hey, hi Ed, you've been here since 2008 was the last time we've seen you. This is what we did.
I used to do the same thing.
Yeah, so the fact that it pulls up very, very fast, very efficient, being all web-based means it's very, very portable, easy to access. We have a VPN, so it can be accessed outside. And then we have inside there, we have it pushed into the database. We can upload any file. So if we set up a router, we download the config for your router and upload it in there. So for any client we've deployed PF sets, we have the last backup stored inside our Sony cell. So there's not any separate files. So it's not just network settings configured in there like a freeform text file, which we can do as well. We actually can put their files in there, and that becomes very, very handy when you're on site. And you're like, okay, this is just broke. Oh, here's the download file for it. Because we use Unify. If you haven't used them for the wireless, we have each Unify. We download all the settings and save it to their customer file. That when we go out there, we can just load up Unify on our laptop with their settings and reset up all of their Unify systems.
Oh, wow, that's really slick.
Those are the features that are separate. Like any of the other ones, they go, you can't upload any files to this. I'm like, well, if I can't upload files, then that kind of kills it for me, because that's a feature we use for our business clients, like just constantly.
Right, sure. Well, that's about all I have. Do you guys have any?
No, you asked all the
No, yeah,
questions
it's
I was
pretty
going to
cool.
ask.
All right.
I seen her wanted a question. I think you asked it.
Well, if you want to plug your business and then your podcast.
Yeah, I don't have any podcasts. I've been on a
Well,
pod
I mean,
nuts and
your like YouTube channel. Or
yeah, YouTube channel. Oh, I do use Caden Live, so I do open source editing on there. So a combination of Caden Live and Audacity to clean up the audio. So I try to get it as clean as possible and cut it all out. I'm going to be doing some more videos on how to do that, because I got people requesting some tutorials on it. I said, okay, I sat down and learned a lot of it. There's a couple people doing some tutorials on there, but unfortunately, a lot of them were done 2 or 3 years ago. Well, there's some version differences. So when you're watching a tutorial, like the menu's not there, or it looks different now.
That option is gone.
That
Yeah.
option's gone. So I want to do some updated ones, because I've become fairly proficient at it. So if you go to my website, lawrencesystems.com, there's a link to my YouTube channel called Tech Knowledge. Yeah, I've just been putting more and more stuff on there. But I'm going to start doing a lot more Linux tutorials. I started out with more of a focus on general users for things, but I'm realizing there's a demand for some of the other open source stuff I've spent a lot of time learning. So definitely I'm going to put a lot more of that on there. I'm also going to be doing some open source projects. Have you seen the Raspberry Pi project?
No.
No.
So it's a really slick system for creating your own home security or business security system. Based on a Raspberry Pi, they sell these kits, and so I might get some of those, and I might look at doing it instead of having a standard alarm company, so it sends notices right to your phone. It even supports some of the image capture, so if you put a camera on there, the motion sensor goes off, it can send the image to your phone, and it's got some home automation and an app for it.
A Raspberry Pi is so low powered, though. How does that work? Is that like 1 Pi per device, 1 Pi per 2 or 3? Because you couldn't run like a whole security system of one Pi.
Yes, and that's what it does. So it's got all the hookups, so you can get all the motion sensors hooked up, all the window trip, the door trip, all the magnet sensors. They tie all into it. And they have the whole kit. So then that Raspberry Pi can then send you a message, and of course, being low power, if the building loses power, it can still send you notices and things like that, provided your internet doesn't go down.
So it could handle the 30 or 40 devices.
Yeah.
That are going to be in a. Wow, that is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, in the new version 2 is a quad core with a gig of RAM and for Raspberry
I'm
Pi.
still thinking of the 256 megabyte.
Right.
Oh, I've got the 512 megabyte. That's like the original.
I know, but I'm old. I get stuck on something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all open source. That's one of the
Yeah.
other projects we're going to work on. So put that in there, and I got to start documenting all the things I do. So.
So, Tom, as far as what's running on that Raspberry Pi, I mean, does it include? I know ZoneMinder was one of the open source
Yeah.
projects for that motion detection as far as security setups go. Is it running that, or is
No, it doesn't run ZoneMinder. It's because it's only looking at like some of the basics. I know it's using some of the same libraries ZoneMinder
Okay.
uses,
okay?
but it doesn't have like full HD camera support or anything like that. They're talking about really basic cameras.
Mhm.
Camera and motion sensor support. So more or less, it's just a monitoring looking for trips.
Okay.
So it goes up
Yeah,
that switch. Was
Raspberry
open.
Pi
Oh,
is
so like
really
like
good for Raspberry Pi is really good for hardware monitoring,
Yes.
hardware motion detectors because it
Mhm.
with the I/O ports on the
Right.
Raspberry Pi instead
Okay.
of using a
Yeah.
So
camera.
it's looking for like just basic motion detection and break glass and things
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, I just like the fact that it notifies. Right now, the security system we use is our not closed source DVR. I've tried ZoneMinder. I couldn't get it to work the way I wanted it to. So we have a DVR that notifies me of any motion during certain hours, and it sends a capture to my phone, which is cool. But I want to build something.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Very cool.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Thank you. And what was your business again?
LawrenceSystems.com.
And,
Lawrence Systems and PC Pickup. So
and your YouTube channel.
the tech knowledge, the TECK knowledge.com. There's a link right on my website. You go to lawrencesystems.com and you'll I put the links to all the stuff on
All
there.
right,
And
great,
I have a blog on there where I post. So the blog has descriptions of what's going to be in the YouTube.
Oh,
and
no, they
things like
tied
that.
it together.
Yeah, they're all,
Okay.
all integrated together. So.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Excellent.
Very good.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess we're going on to the news.
It's time for the tech news of the week.
And so, do we guys have any news articles?
Yeah.
I have a couple, 3.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
All right, well, go ahead, Mary.
All right. This first one kind of cracked me up. This was in Engadget.com, and it's Russia and China promise not to hack each other. And I look at the
Yeah.
picture, and Putin's arm, one of his hand, he's shaking hands with the Chinese premier, but his other hand looks to be behind his back, and I'm
Fingers
thinking,
are crossed.
fingers are crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there'll be a link to that. It just kind of cracked me up, and I think what's happened, and I realize it's not really open source related directly, but what happened is that with the whole Ukraine situation, and the fact that that has seriously damaged Russia's relationship with Europe as well as the U.S., it has kind of pushed him. It has pushed him toward China, and so when I saw that,
Don't
I just
get me started on that Ukraine.
okay, I won't. I
We should
won't.
have put troops on the ground. Anyway.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Well, then we'll move right on.
No, literally by treaty.
Did I get
we
you
were
started?
Yes, you did. We were obligated to put troops on the. We were
Yeah.
obligated to put troops on the ground by treaty, and we didn't do it.
I didn't read that.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, I guess we should have. But
Yeah,
anyway.
when they agreed to give all their nuclear weapons up, that was part of the treaty.
Oh, okay.
That we would defend them.
Okay. Well, something went wrong there.
Yeah, we welched.
Okay. All right. Well, then the other. Wow, that was. I didn't expect. I didn't expect that discussion. The other news item I have is Microsoft brings Android and iOS apps to Windows 10.
Ooh.
Yes. This, and actually I found this on Ars Technica. This it's a little old. It's about a week and a half old, but I thought it warranted a note. There are a couple of things that
a couple of kind of projects, or at least aspects to this larger initiative that Microsoft has going, and includes the tool chain and this middleware layer that's going to provide the APIs that the Apple, the iOS apps expect, so that developers then can go ahead and put this stuff together. I'll plug it into that and have these available on Windows. And
Yeah, they're trying to everything they can to save that Windows phone,
yeah,
aren't they?
and Project Astoria, yeah, Project Astoria is the same thing for Android. So yeah, so they've got that going, and I guess it'll be kind of interesting to see if that happens. But that's usually what you have to do when you're running a distant third. You know?
Well,
very, very distant.
They're also doing it because they really want to push Azure to run at the back end for Android and iOS apps. So they're trying to lure developers over to Azure, and they've done such things as even they had a lot of talk of Docker at the Build conference, and they're trying to work with all the open source community, going, hey, all those things you love that you run over on Amazon Cloud Services, you'll be able to run them on Azure. So come on over to the Azure side and run these iOS apps and everything else. Build your back end on our platform, because software as a service is their goal. So that's one of their big pushes in Windows 10, to be able to, hey, you can even run on Windows 10 these Android apps and iOS apps. It's all part of a tie-in they announced over at Build.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's one thing I think this year it's become particularly noticeable is that they have really kind of moved, Microsoft that is, has really moved to, I think, get rid of some those barriers, at least some of those barriers to the open source community. Because, well, as you know, years ago, I mean, Linux was the cancer and all this kind of thing. And although Linux itself never really became the desktop of choice across the board for everybody, I think that the whole open source initiative that Linux is a part of really has driven a whole bunch of things and is really a disruptor. And I think this is just another aspect of it that we're seeing.
Beware.
Well,
Wolf in sheep's clothing. That's all I have to say.
I know, and I appreciate that, and I always look at these things with a little bit of a suspicious eye.
Yes.
But on the other hand, I think Microsoft is recognizing that their closed source approach to things is, and the fact that they kind of sat on their laurels for years. I mean, they were the default operating system. They had all this stuff, and they just got complacent, and things have caught up, things have changed, and now they're playing catch up. And this is one way to try.
Well, they
to
released that Linux. They use tools for dev in Linux, which is unheard of for them. It's like, wow, actually, here's Microsoft tools running on Ubuntu to develop in. That's big change for them.
It is.
Like he said, I'm a little suspicious.
Yeah.
Beware.
Yeah, and I think a lot of open source.
Their major revenue stream is still sticking up front.
Oh, you are so right.
Builders.
Yeah,
Yes, so.
yeah, that
$1 billion
annoys
from Samsung alone.
Yeah.
that annoys the heck out of me, and I don't
Yes.
know why people don't stand up and just say, "Prove it."
Nobody's got the deep enough pockets. That's why they won't go after Google.
Yes.
Yeah,
Google
and-
does.
Yeah, I don't know why Google doesn't say we'll indemnify you. As far as
Well,
those people. Of course, that's
That opens up a whole can of
yeah.
worms.
You're right. It does from a legal perspective. Yeah. So anyway, so that was my my one story, and then when we get around to KDE corner, I've got a couple things there. So
Cool.
all right.
All right. What I saw was there's a new Linux rootkit that leverages GPUs to hide. And now, for the real title that it should have been is, this is a proof of concept. It is not in the wild. Okay. A team of developers has created a rootkit for Linux systems that uses processing power and memory of graphics cards inside of GPUs in order to remain hidden. The rootkit, called Jellyfish, is a proof of concept designed to demonstrate that completely running malware on GPUs. So, and that is from computerworld.com. There will be a link in the show notes if I remember to put it up. I still owe you my links from last time.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah. So, and my second one is open office development is looking grim as developers flock to LibreOffice. And this is from Infoworld.com. And OpenOffice used to be the best free alternative to Microsoft's Office, but now it seems to be falling on hard times. Development on the open source productivity suite is down to just 16 people. They only have 16 developers.
Well, and here's the problem with that, besides the obvious, is that when you go out into the real world, people who are using an open source office suite, they're using open office. they have not gotten the word that LibreOffice is the and I'm talking about regular people. I'm not talking about Linux
Right, but
geeks.
then that would bode for the other direction.
But my point is that there are still a fair number of people out there that are just regular, just regular Joes that are using open office and don't realize that, hey, at some point this may become dormant.
Yeah.
And so, and the
Well,
fact
it's
that there's,
part of the Apache project now, so it's not going to probably become dormant. But what the
well, they need to go
what this
back together.
what this article really wants you to note is that on their last release for OpenOffice, there were 381 change sets last year.
Hmm.
Wait a minute. LibreOffice and the other open source saw 22,134 change sets.
Ooh.
So it's the level of development is very, very different.
Yeah, no, but again, my only concern is that when you're looking for adoption and that type of thing in the general public, the non-techie general public, all they know is open office because it was out there first. And the fact that LibreOffice forked off a few years ago, that's lost
when
on them.
OpenOffice became so stagnant.
Right, but see, those folks didn't get that. They didn't get the memo because they just don't look for that kind of thing. So in a way, that's in my opinion, then that's making that's kind of a little black eye for open source in a way, just as far as the perception of it being a kind of a modern or open office, I should say, being a modern Word, Microsoft Office compatible system.
You're very correct because we actually have a lot of businesses that run open office.
Exactly.
And they don't. If you said LibreOffice, they go, huh?
Yeah.
And they don't understand it's essentially very similar. You're going to still create the ODF documents that are compatible. But we use open office. We don't really want that other thing. It says something different, so it bothers them because it's what they're used to. Because I have a lot of clients, and because of they just need basic spreadsheets and things like that. They simply run open office. That's just what's easy for them. So
yeah, so that's a concern
switching
about
it is.
that.
Yeah, it is there. And I was actually pulled up Ninite where a lot of people used to install. Open Office is on top, LibreOffice is at the bottom. And it's by default what people check. Even my guys a lot of times out of habit will install Open Office because if they look at this Open Office and put it on there. But yeah, I try to push for the LibreOffice. Newer, more support, much better document support for importing.
Oh yeah, the Microsoft when you're trying to import and export to Microsoft formats, LibreOffice just hands down way better.
Depends.
Give me an example where OpenOffice is better.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just giving you. Never mind.
Yeah.
No, that's what I get. That is what I get for
Okay.
for segueing. I was looking at my KDE corner and I segued back into the conversation. I'm just talking about. Never mind. I'm not talking about a darn thing.
Okay.
All right.
But anyway, so. But thanks for that story, Matt. I mean, that's a. See, I really would like to see those two projects come back together. I don't know if it's possible or not because
The code
there may
base
be
just
some.
drifts so far.
Well, that's just it. I mean, there may be some acrimony. There may be a number of other
I don't think
factors.
there's acrimony. I just think that the code bases have drifted so far that reassembling that into one project would be just
Yeah,
not
probably
feasible.
difficult. All right.
Anyway,
All right.
that's all I have.
Cool. So, Mary, what do you have for your kitty corner?
Oh, I was just. Do you have anything? Oh, you got your.
I don't have any
security thing.
news. I have a
Oh,
security
okay.
bit. But
Okay. Well, I have got. Let's see. KDE Frameworks 5.10.0 was released this past week, and KDE Frameworks is basically a set of libraries that interact with Qt or Qt to provide KDE functionality. So that came out. Also, another thing that I noted too, for anybody who uses KDE and uses K-Wallet, which I sometimes find useful and sometimes find very annoying because whenever I open Chrome, K-Wallet pops up and wants access or wants to.
As opposed to KDE Wallet, which is very different.
Okay.
is?
Yeah, KDE Wallet saves your passwords.
Well,
What is
KDE
K-Wallet?
Wallet is KDE Wallet. It's a little brown wallet.
K-Wallet?
Yeah.
Not
What is K-Wallet?
Because I open KDE Wallet to fill my password. It's not K-Wallet. K-Wallet's for money, isn't it?
No, Matt. K-Wallet is the KDE password.
Is it really?
Yes, it is.
I knew that. I was just testing.
Okay, okay. Did I pass?
Yeah, yeah. Flying colors.
Anyway, but what's kind of interesting is that it hasn't had a facelift for quite a while. And what they're going to do now is they are going to apparently the Gnome project
Oh,
has
don't screw with.
no. They have some they've got some design flaws. And what they're going to do is they're going to apparently the Gnome project has released a kind of a back end that does the same kind of thing. So what the KDE project is going to do is they're going to take that and they're going to put on
From GDK to QT.
well, I think that's what eventually is going to happen, but it's a new system that's going to replace K Wallet and it's going to be called K Secret Service.
Well, I still have K Wallet. That's all I want to know.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's the guy whose blog post I'm referring to here. He's in the process of redefining its architecture, and he plans to post it on the KDE developer mailing list as well as on his blog as this moves along. But I just want to give a heads up that's coming down the pike. And then the last KDE corner item I've got is Krita. They are initiating another Kickstarter campaign, or at least a little fundraising campaign to bring some additional. They want to extend the animation capabilities of that project or that software. So they're initiating this fundraiser activity. I think the one they ran last year, they got 20,000 euros, which is probably about maybe $25,000 US dollars that they were able to collect to add some functionality to it last year. So it's kind of an interesting approach to maybe the donation thing that I always talk about, where I always say throw $5 in and blah blah blah. People may or may not do that, but it looks to me like they really get a good response when they use the focused, concentrated donation effort like a Kickstarter. So anyway, that's my KDE corner.
All right.
Yeah, cool. All right, so I have.
That would be you, Tony.
Back. Hey, no wait. Back to you, Tony. I was supposed to say that, wasn't I?
So I have one security bit. It's from the SANS Institute,
Oh yeah.
and they're a big like security researching group.
Mhm.
And their one post says, "How security aware are you?" And they have 4 different little like quizzes you can do.
Mhm.
So I haven't gone through them yet. So what I want to do is everybody else take the quizzes. I'll take them too, and then we'll come back and see how it goes.
All right, send me a
Right
link.
now?
Yeah, it's in the show. No, not right now.
Send me a link.
Yeah, it's in the show notes.
So I actually
But
have to
there's
go read
one.
the show notes?
There's one on
And we're,
fishing.
and we're all on our honor too. We can't like cheat.
Right.
Okay.
There's one on phishing. There's one on spyware. There's one on
It's not cheating
identity
unless you get
theft,
caught.
Oh.
and there's one on social networks.
Okay.
So yeah, check
Should-
it out.
Should be good. All right.
And I guess we're going.
So hang on
Oh.
a minute now. So just to confirm what we're going to do with our results, so we're going to report back next episode and see how we did.
Yeah. Yep. And then the
Okay.
audience too. You guys check it out and then see how you compare against how we did.
That could make for some interesting conversation.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So.
Okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I was reading Twitter.
You Twitter.
All
Okay.
right.
It's listener feedback time.
And
Listener feedback time.
all
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And our phone number is 734-258-7009. Lube.
Mary likes that. That's why I said
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So, did we have any listener feedback?
yes.
What
Matt
did you
said
see, Matt?
definitively.
Where's my SMLR folder?
Yeah.
My SMLR folder's gone. Oh, there.
Hey, one thing we didn't mention because it occurred after our last podcast is that we had a chance, or at least I had a chance to meet the person who packages Scientific Linux,
Oh yeah.
Connie Connie C. And she happened to be attending PenguinCon, and we were sitting in the What's New with KDE 5 session, which never
which never occurred because the presenter had to go to the hospital with his wife or some family member, something
Oh,
along
wow.
those lines. Yeah. So while we were talking quietly amongst ourselves, she was right behind me and we started chatting. So hopefully she'll be presenting at next year's PenguinCon. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Something happened and I lost the user's comment. I only have mine and Mary's replies to his comment.
Oh well. Why don't you read our replies? We'll figure it out. No, just kidding. Oh, that was about. Go ahead, Nat.
I don't. Oh yeah, he wanted to know if there were any pictures of me in costume.
Oh.
or you in costume.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right.
Costume, us in costume.
Yeah, I said that you were dressed as a geek and you
Yeah.
looked the part or
Yeah,
something like
was
that.
the part. This is actually one of the T-shirts I wore.
This is.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Michelle, amaze your friends.
Yeah, I got this. I got this that Saturday, and then I wore it under my KDE sweatshirt, which made me look huge. But this says "Got free BSD" and a question mark. So
Yeah.
But no, we don't participate in the cosplay. I only go to the technical tracks at Home Depot.
Oh yeah, technical Home Depot
Why
tracks.
would I say Home
Yeah.
Depot?
it's because your shirt is orange and
Yeah,
that's
there
the
you
Home
go.
Depot's
At
color.
PenguinCon. I only go to the tech track at Penguin.
Same here. Tech
Home-
track. I did go to some of the food ones, so the how they do the liquor infusion.
Oh, how was that?
I have been to some of the.
How
fusions.
was that? I
I-
like to go to some of those
They
other
had to
ones
check
too.
my ID to eat the pickles, and it was absolutely worth it.
Wow.
And we have now made some. We already made our first batch. So
Of liquor infused pickles.
yes, well those take longer, but we made the liquor infused fruits. We've been making them at home. My wife's got the table all messy with all
Really?
this stuff. It's really
And
good.
you know what's really good, and I've got a great recipe for it that I'll send to you if you want it. Skittles vodka.
Yes, I've done that before too.
Okay.
Skittles
Yeah.
vodka's good.
Yeah. Hey, in 25 words or less, as far as infusing fruits with liquor, you just dip them in there, or what is it?
Really simple. Get a pan,
Mm-hmm.
pour
Pour the
in
liquor in
vodka,
the
Pour
pan?
the liquor in the pan. Cut up the fruit. Put the fruit in the pan. Cover it so things don't get in it. And
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, pour it in and filter and drink.
Wow.
Wow.
It's,
You have to-
it's
does it have to be refrigerated or not
No.
refrigerated? Or?
So you can drink the liquor and eat the fruit.
you do not want to eat the
No,
fruit.
'cause
It
it's
tastes
rotten.
awful. No, it's
Oh.
actually it doesn't. rot.
Oh, okay.
It does preserve it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, like we made strawberries, and the strawberries turn white essentially when they're done because
Because it all leaches out.
it all leaches out. So it's just the texture of a strawberry without the flavor of strawberry. So it's really, really gross.
Oh.
The liquor tastes great.
The
I was-
liquor tastes good. That's
yeah,
funny.
I tried eating some of the strawberries. I'm like, these are disgusting. It's like there's all the things that a strawberry tastes like, but there's without the flavor. It's like I can't.
I
taste
wanted to
this.
go to that session, and I ended
Really
up by there was something else I ended up going to. It's probably your lecture, Matt.
I'm from the sticks, you know, right? In case any of you forgot, we used to do this with peaches and moonshine.
Peaches
That
and
would be
moonshine. That
Yeah.
explains it.
My wife chose vodka, but I'm thinking
Uh-huh.
Everclear will make the next batch.
Yeah.
She didn't get the best vodka. And I'm like, honey, at least start with something good. But Everclear's probably good because it, absolutely a pure and might absorb better. But like the pickles take, I think, about a month to make the pickles on there. But the cucumber infused liquor is amazing.
Peaches and moonshine. If you're gonna try it.
Yes, sounds good.
Any particular
Smooth.
any
Yes.
particular brand?
Yeah, Bob's from the Still Out Back.
Yes, my own.
All right, I'll look for that at the store. Bob's from Still Out Back. Oh, that'd be a good name, though.
It's all yours, Mary. Run with it.
All right. Anyway, thanks for that info, Tom.
Yeah. I don't know. That's
Oh.
all I saw. I didn't see
Yeah,
anything else.
there was nothing else. That was the only one.
Probably part of it was that I didn't get the show out for a week.
I did notice that, but I wasn't gonna say anything.
We figured you were just busy. Hey,
I was-
speaking of
I
that,
was very
how's your
busy.
classes going? Are you still going to classes or did you drop out?
Semester? No, I'm still. Well,
Okay.
semester's over, so I'm not
Oh.
taking summer classes.
Oh, good.
But
So thus
so in
your
the
Cisco
fall-
thing. You'll be jamming that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then in the fall, it's when my when
Mhm.
I'll start taking classes again.
And how much?
going-
how
I'm
much
going for
more?
my master's in IA, information assurance.
So how much you got left?
At least 2 years, depending on
Oh,
how
man,
everything
that's a long
lines up.
time.
2 to
I
3
could
years.
be dead by then.
Well, I'm taking
All right.
everything half time.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So you're not going full time at all. Like you're not carrying 12 credit hours, right?
No, but I have to have 6 credits to get student loans. so I have to take at least 2 classes each semester.
Mm,
But yeah, so
Where,
that's
where
how
are you going
I'm
to
doing
school at?
it. Eastern Michigan University.
cool.
Are you going all the way out to Eastern, or are you doing it at one of their satellite campuses?
This last semester, I had to do it all on campus in Ypsilanti. Last semester was one was at online and one was actually at Henry Ford Village
Oh, that's good. A little
or
more
Greenfield
convenient.
Village.
A little more convenient.
Yeah, it was actually a really cool class.
Hmm.
Um,
How technology destroyed the world.
that was actually part of it. Yeah, that was a few articles, and then but it was like how technology advanced throughout the history, and it's not technology like computers and electronics. It's just in general how things got better. You know, like
Hmm.
from farming, from going with digging with your hands to using a plow and using and
Large
hooking up.
machines. And Henry Ford's a great place to study that because they have the
Oh,
big
yeah,
machines there.
that's
It's just
true.
amazing.
Yeah, you can just
Yeah,
see it.
and in the village they have the farms from going back, at the colonial age all the way up through the 1700s, and
Hmm.
so it's very cool.
Right, and if I remember correctly, at Henry Ford Village or Greenfield Village, they have they explain about all the ribbon farms in Detroit in one of the sections of it. That I found very interesting.
I don't remember that part, but a ribbon farm, what is that?
Maybe I read it somewhere else, and I'm just
Well, no, it could very well be that. Well, the ribbon farms were just these very narrow plots of land that came directly off the river.
right
And
because they
they-
needed
Oh.
access to the river to get their
Yeah.
vegetables to market.
So,
So they all had these really skinny, really long farms,
yeah.
and they
Ah,
call them ribbon farms because
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
the ribbon.
And
Yeah.
I think it created issues when Detroit was growing.
Yes,
it
it did.
created issues as far as property and land because
because one
one
farmer
ribbon
would
in
sell
the
and
middle.
the other ones around him wouldn't sell, and so
Mhm.
streets would be long and take you a long way to get around.
oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyway, that explains it too.
That whole northeast side of Detroit there,
Yeah.
why it's so messed up. Really.
Yeah. Huh. All right.
Okay. So, and that was we've gone through the listener feedback segment.
Yep. So then we're on to the music. Right?
Yeah.
That's our. Ooh.
Featured music of the week.
And Mary sent us the suggestion for music this week.
I
like
did.
you do every week almost.
Like I do every week. Well, just a thought, but it's very apropos because OpenBSD 5.7 was just released, and as we mentioned earlier, those guys, there's a bunch of talented guys up there in Canada. Was it Alberta? I think is where these guys are based out of. OpenBSD, is that right? Is it Calgary, or do I have
I'm
it
not sure
wrong?
where.
Yeah, I don't know where the music is based out of,
Yeah.
but Theodore Roth is Canadian.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so yeah, this one is called Sourcefish.
That's right. And the words fish. Open source fish.
Fish.
Oh.
FISH.
They're definitely saying
As opposed
fish.
to biatch.
Right.
I really love this beginning part too. The lines here, I listened to this like 3 times.
Coming to you via CBS. All the code that's safe to load. Got the pro police in the GCC. Boundary checks and canaries. I'm a source fish.
I don't know how you
You
got.
can definitely see how you can make that mistake. No, I did. Tony, I gotta be honest. I made the same mistake.
I'm not sure they're saying fish.
Used to suck.
I vote that they are.
But it keep getting better each and every day. When SSL wasn't done by us, with Libre, there ain't no fuss.
That's how they're still finding. That's a reference to the fact that they're still finding all those bugs in OpenSSL. And when that first one hit the bricks and it showed all the really bad stuff going on in OpenSSL, the OpenBSD people said, "Whoa, we're done with OpenSSL," and they took the OpenSSL code and stripped all the crap out of it and rebuilt
And
it as
just-
LibreSSL.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
All
right.
Well, but that it has LibreSSL hasn't been widely adopted yet, has it?
No, but it's very readily adoptable. All you got to do is install it instead of
Or-
OpenSSL.
Right, but this is the same. This is the same thing that we talked when we talked about open office versus LibreOffice.
It just needs to get
It needs,
known, I think,
yeah.
because it's like when OpenBSD was having that fundraiser before, and I said, "Hey, did you use OpenSSH lately?
Hmm.
If you did, give them money because that's down, you know."
And or switch. But
And-
yeah, yeah.
And it's just it'll become known as the thing to use, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, very cool. All right. So you've come to the end of the show.
And so have we.
Yes, thankfully.
Yep, you've been listening to the Sunday Morning Linux Review. This was episode 151.
A guest.
we didn't go up with anything better, so I
Go
guess
on.
it is.
Some open source and business stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
A guest with some open source and business stuff.
Yeah.
Tom's.
a little long for a
Hey,
title.
Tom's Hardware.
I missed the boat on that
I
one.
think that's a mistaken, Mary.
Yeah.
Shoot.
All right. All right. This is Tony Bemis.
Matt Enders
And Mary Tomich.
And Tom Lawrence.
saying, "See you next time."
That was good.
All right.
All right, Mary, you gonna do the
Do the intro.
intro?
That's another thing.
Yeah.
After we do the show, Mary then records.
We
the
do.
intro.
Yeah, we kind of
Yeah.
contribute our
Sometimes
little
we know what we
pieces. Yeah.
talked about.
Yeah. What did we talk about?
I don't remember.
Open
All
source
right.
fishes.
Yeah.
That could be a title too.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
There you
Open
go.
source
That's that
fishes.
open source fish.
Yeah. Should I put BB or no FISH?
Yeah. Or you can use the Grawlix and just put the exclamations. You know, the
Yeah.
open source, whatever.
All right. So I guess I better do my the little intro. Well, you guys will kick in with your own stuff too, won't you?
Yeah, sure.
All right. On today's edition of Sunday Morning Linux Review, which is actually Saturday, we we have a special guest in the studio, Tom Lawrence, and we'll listen to Tom talk about his business and some of the projects and some of the customer situations that he encounters and how he fixes things. We'll also have our typical news. Matt will be here with what, Matt?
Yeah, I'll kick in two stories. One on a Linux rootkit. Ooh, scary stuff, huh?
Maybe.
And open office development is losing out to LibreOffice.
Yeah, and I guess I'll have something on the deal with the devil as far as Russia and China. And Tony will be here with, Tony's got a little challenge for us today.
Yeah. So listen up.
Yeah. And I guess so.
Stay tuned.
Cut
All
that
right.
part out. cut the crazy chortling out. Oh my God. Anyway, well, there you go.
All right, then we're all done.
All right.
Bye, YouTubers.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Do we have